Hello, Mark Sabatella here. In this video, I want to expand on a technique that I discussed in an earlier video in which I gave you a really simple way of playing from a lead sheet. And the method that I described basically just had you play the melody in your right hand and just a bass note in your left hand, the root or whatever other bass note is called for. So for instance, in this song that I used as an example, that's where I started from. And then I talked about adding just one more note, a couple of chords if it felt like it needed to be there so we could hear the chord. But I'm going to now replace that and say let's always add another note. In fact, let's always add two more notes. So I want to take what I just did and add two more notes. And it's going to be a fairly simple process here to describe. I'm always going to want two notes in each hand. So two notes in my left hand, two notes in my right hand. So 4 notes total. I want my chord to be fully represented. So a triad should have a root, a third, and a fifth. And well, one of those notes will likely end up being doubled. A seventh chord is going to have a root, a third, a fifth, and a seventh, right? And we'll see. If I have to leave out a fifth, I'll leave out a fifth. I will also say that as a jazz player, I'm not going to be so keen on playing triads as just playing triads. I'm likely to expand them to a seventh. I'm going to add whatever seventh is diatonic, is in the key. I will do that in a jazz setting. So let me play this and talk through those first few measures both ways. Here's the straight version, the non-jazz version. Here's my melody and my root that I started with. And now I want to ask myself, well, what am I missing? Well, my melody is the third of the chord. I've got my root. What I'm missing is the fifth, so let's get the fifth in there. And at that point, I've got that chord fully represented, and so now I can double something, and I'll just double the root. There we go. Now, the next chord, again, it has the third in the melody. My root is in the bass. I'm missing a fifth, and I'm missing a seventh. So here again is my fifth. There I can play my seventh. Here my melody is the fifth of the chord. My bass note is the third. What I'm missing is the root and the seventh. So here's a root, here's a seventh. When I come to this A flat chord, the root is in the bass. My melody note is not even in the chord. So I still need to get the third and the fifth in there, right? So I guess here's my third, here's my fifth. Notice now the melody takes over that third. So technically I got a note for free. I can now add another note in my right hand because I started with 2 notes in the right hand. Now I've only got 1, so I can go ahead and add another note. So I guess I've got the chord fully represented here, root, third, and fifth. So I'll just double the root. So let me play that again. That totally works. And all I'm doing is making sure I'm playing the chord, spreading the notes between my fingers. And I didn't talk about how I chose which finger plays which note. I said which 2 notes I needed, and then I sort of looked at my hands and just said which one was going to be which. You're aiming for an even spread. You don't want to bottom weight the thing. You don't want to get too many notes too low, and you don't want too much of it too high. You want the notes to sort of spread out. That's about what I could say. So let me play that again, though. This time, instead of playing the straight version where I'm doubling the root for triads, let's go ahead and add a seventh. Instead of doubling the root, I'm just going to play the major seventh because that's what's in the key. The 1 chord will be a major seventh. And now, playing on, this is all the same. Here, well, I've still wanted my fifth, and I got my third. So, my melody note is a nice non-chord tone, but when I come to the C, I can fill it out with a G underneath, right? Yeah, so that's just the somewhat jazzier version. If you know what notes are in your chords, play the melody here in your right hand, play the bass note in the left, and just make sure the rest of the chord is covered in your thumbs, basically, and spread the notes out well. You will have a good sound. And this is a really solid foundation for adding additional interest, because by all means, we can add color tones if we're creating a jazz version, or add passing tones and all these other things that we can add to this. But this is a really, really strong foundation. So if you haven't already kind of gotten this kind of skill under your belt, but you have any interest in pursuing the ability to play the piano from a lead sheet, definitely recommend you work on playing some songs using this technique that I've just showed you.